unpausing in various areas. In Westchester County, we're part of the Hudson Valley or Mid-Hudson region, and we have some statistics to go through. But today we're going to take a look and spend some time with the executive director, the executive director from the County Youth Bureau, Dr. DaMia Harris-Madden, and we are so pleased to have her with us today to talk about something that's really important with our youth and how our youth have been handling and dealing with the uncertainties, challenges that have been happening. So, Dr. Harris-Madden, DaMia, welcome to our Facebook Live conversation. Let's talk first. COVID-19. There was an immediate shutdown of so many things that happened in Westchester County. Schools being closed, young people being moved to work from home, and the Youth Bureau is a coordinator of many different things. So, tell me how the Youth Bureau's role changed in the COVID-19 response. And again, welcome to the Facebook presentation, Westchester.
Thank you, Deputy County Executive. It's a privilege to be here. I'm fortunately working from home, and as a parent, like many people that are within our county, we struggle for that work and homeschooling balance. But in terms of the Youth Bureau, we've just been working really hard to ensure that there are service opportunities presented to both youth, parents, and the greater community. So, the unlikeliest places we kind of jumped in to help and support in that the Youth Bureau typically scope of work is with contracted agencies to ensure that they are delivering typically in-person services. However, we've been providing technical assistance to over 100 different agencies and programs so that they are able to deliver high quality services and support despite this pandemic. So some examples of what the Youth Bureau has been doing is we immediately jumped in to help support the emergency first responders for childcare services. We were able to onboard contractors from both the nonprofit and private sector. And I underscore that because, just by getting emails saying, please help us support these different organizations, private institutions who were looking to support their employees prior to PPP and other stimulus programs, we were able to actually parlay the skills of the business employees over to the nonprofit side to help support children. In addition to that, we have staff that are jumping in to help address the food insecurity issues. So they've been working with your team and the county execs team as well to help coordinate food distribution sites. And we have also been working with the planning department in terms of helping to promote the census, which we can talk a little bit about later. And just from a personal perspective, wherever I can lend my skills, I do so, from the economic development team to the workforce investment board, the development board. I've been, helping to support in those areas. We have a number of really talented staff that come from very diverse backgrounds. And so they too have been jumping in the unlikeliest places to help support during this pandemic.
Well, something, DaMia, that's so important to say that it's just been critical that every county employee has been asked to do a little bit of a stretch of the kind of work that they're doing. They just having folk as essential employees. But specifically for you in the Youth Bureau, talk a little bit more about what your team did. I mean, you talked a second ago about when the shutdown happened and the schools were closed. And people probably don't realize how quickly that happened. They may have resulted from the children being home like it's a snow day, but over a weekend, there was the need to create a food distribution system for those young people that get their meals in the school districts, and then childcare. Over the weekend, you and your team working with John McDonald and Emily Saltzman and the county executive team, including Diane Atkins and Blanca Lopez, and we got all kinds of folks that are out there. We have a person that's out there that's running a daycare center, working in one of them that you helped set up. Talk some more about those kind of resources, and again, how are our young people doing?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing we wanted to make sure that we did provide outside of the things you've mentioned was to provide professional development to those youth serving agencies that were accustomed to delivering services face to face and supporting school districts. So, an example of where we jumped in immediately was to just ramp up our professional development series so that individuals on the front line have the skills to really help these young people who are, working remotely on their schoolwork, limited in many ways in terms of their physical mobility, but also just experiencing burnout. And we can talk a little bit more about the psychological impacts of young people, and that that's a part of how they're doing. They're nervous, they're anxious. Stressors from the prolonged confinement are incredible. We're going to see a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder likely evolving from this. But there's fears of infection, and unfortunately and sadly now we know that there's some young people who are becoming very ill, and we think it's likely connected to coronavirus, and even some deaths that have occurred. So all of this anxiety is really stressful for our young people, and it's appropriate to actually talk about this during the Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May. But young people are experiencing the death of loved ones, so there's bereavement issues. And so we are very fortunate that we have a cadre of nonprofit organizations that do contract with the county, that are able to jump in and kind of triage these issues for us: the WJCS, the FSWs, the guidance centers, just to name a few. In terms of, the academic supports, we also have the Boys and Girls Clubs, we have the youth bureaus, we have a number of nonprofits and church faith-based organizations, UJAMA and others that have addressed the technology challenges that some of these kids are having, and candidly, they're still experiencing, because we know that there's a dearth of, technology for families that have multiple children. We also know that there's bandwidth issues. I mean, I'm even having some now at points we're buffering, right? So can you imagine when you have 3 or 4 children within the household that either have to share devices and share the connectivity to get into their lessons? So those are some of the things that we see our young people are faced with. But as I said, we have some community organizations that are stellar at what they do. We even have physical fitness and Zoom and check-ins. And so our team pops into Zoom classes and pops into some of the sessions just to ensure that they're following their models to fidelity. And wherever we can give support, we do. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about, the social and emotional challenges. As a parent, I could tell you, I have had my own, just dealing with my 5-year-old crying at the computer because she wants to play. She's falling out of routine. And, we're just trying to help organizations who can touch young people and have the relationships, help the parents as well as the children. Another issue I just wanted to note was, we're hosting a PD. We're putting this together with WIHD, nonprofit Westchester, WGCS, on child abuse, detect child abuse remotely, because this is, like domestic violence, we know that the numbers are underreported at this point, and we have, concern about young people that are home that may be subjected to abuse, and because they're not physically in a school building or an after school program, the caring adult typically there is not present to see the indicators. So we're putting together professional development on that. And we're also working with Cornell to talk about positive youth development this month, which includes the appropriate structure, safety mechanisms that help frontline workers really identify and support people who may be at higher risk.
Yep. So, Danny, thank you so much for bringing all of that information again, because again, talking about May being Mental Health Awareness Month, and certainly we have a lot of programs that would have happened out of those agencies. So creating those programs now that they can do those remotely and teaching people how to best utilize the technology is definitely something that is really helpful. Are there different problems as far as you can see from resource allocation around the county, or is it, or do we have enough resources to go around?
Sadly, we have some challenges in more of the urban centers just by sheer population and the large number of students that are attending schools where the schools were just not prepared to provide thousands of laptops to families or tablets to families. We at the county have even tried to step in and help support, but the supply chain issue is very real and relevant at this point. The back orders are far into the summer. And so there's definitely challenges more in those in lower income communities where a parent may have to provide a cell phone. We hear stories about cell phones being used and shared with 3 or 4 children, and so for us, we've been taking a kind of a poll through various superintendents to find out what the needs are. I'm happy that the county has stepped in the way it has to support the food distribution, and technology is still an issue. I serve on the Workforce Development Board for Putnam and Westchester County with Tom Klein and others. And the business community is aware of this challenge, and we've been brainstorming on how we can, utilize computers that may not be in use in some of these businesses. So there will be more to come on that. But I want to just also point out to you the summer youth employment dilemma we have. And Ken, that I've spent a lot of my time in my career in the human resource management area and also workforce development area. And so I participate on a number of regional and statewide networks, and even locally. There is a huge concern about what teenagers, what our college students are doing over the summer. And for college students, employment is the main, thing for them. They earn their money, they save it, they go back to school, but also young people, particularly in those urban centers that rely on employment wages to help support their families, especially in a time like this, are concerned about. But there are workarounds, and so it ties back to the technology. So not only have schools to provide the technology needed, we're now pivoting to think about how we're going to support young people who may have opportunities to work, but it will likely be remotely. So one of the things that I'm really proud about, our young people from our youth board and our Youth Empowerment Council for Change, they are going to be on webinars for youth. And this is really the first time the Youth Bureau in a long time has provided services. And those webinars will be geared to how to navigate an interview using social media platforms, using Zoom and GoToMeeting and other WebEx, because this is new territory for young people. So I'm proud to say that we'll be presenting that as well to help solve the problem. But back to the employment, actual employment, with social distancing, we're looking at what kind of work sites can promote social distancing and have a safe environment for kids. There's still a lot of unknown factors, such as summer camps and whether organizations or municipalities will be able to afford summer camps. And if they do, likely be smaller than what we're accustomed to. So that would mean less, opportunity for you to work.
Well, one of the largest employers everyone recognizes in Westchester County, one of the largest employers for youth happens to be Playland. It's actually the largest youth employer in Westchester County. And we don't know what that's going to look like right now. Right now, it's on pause as an amusement park. Certainly, there's the park component of it. The beaches are closed. The amusement park is closed. We're not quite sure what's going to happen with that. And to your point, DaMia, that makes a challenge for our young people, and whether they're high school level teenagers in their first opportunities for employment, but also those college students that are home now looking for those additional opportunities to help support themselves and their families to be able to do things like set themselves up for success going forward. DaMia, you talked about it a little bit, and I know, it just brings a smile and a light to your eye when you talk about all the work that the young people are doing, whether it's through the youth board or through the youth bureau and the webinars that you talked about. Talk a little bit more about that, because that is exciting, having our young people being out front and participating, and talk about some of the other things that our young folks are out there doing that you're aware of through the youth bureau.
I am so proud of these young people. It's amazing. Westchester is Bestchester in so many ways, from the adults to the youth. We're learning that members of our Youth Empowerment Council for Change, we call the YECC, which was created under this administration, they are phenomenal. They are, making masks. They are helping seniors make doctor appointments using technology. They are grocery shopping. They are collecting donations for food. They're helping with food distribution. They're writing letters as a friendly gesture to some of our seniors that are shut in. Many of them are leading webinars, as I said, not just from the youth employment aspect, but also environmental issues. There's climate change that's at the forefront of many of these young people's minds, and they're working on, with different groups like Sustainable Westchester and others to try to bring awareness about what's happening and how the pandemic is related to some of the climate change issues. So some of our young people are like beyond their stated years. And unfortunately, we're losing many of them. Our Vice President, Abe Baker Butler, who has received, I think, every award possible, but he's going off, to Yale. And, but we have a cadre of young people that are ready to kind of take his place. The Youth Poet Laureate, she curated a document that is shared and hopefully will be on our website soon, but has been sent out just to bring, awareness of how poetry can be uplifting, and creative writing is an outlet for our young people. So she curated a number of poems, but she also put together some poems that were befitting of the times. And so we have that on our website. She's created videos to share. But I'd also like to point out how young people are actually becoming civically engaged. And, from the beginning, that's been my thing, promoting youth voice and ensuring that our young people are able to activate when necessary in a non-political way. So, for example, the Census 2020, we're working with a few organizations such as the Portchester Carver Center and Latino Youth Scholars, because we know that there is a need for Spanish-speaking families to have a greater understanding of the census and to take away the fear of completing the census. So we are working with Norma Drummond, Commissioner in the Planning Department, and Alberto to ensure that our young people can make phone calls through phone bank. They're going to go through a training on how to do so in the next few coming weeks. But they've already, Youth Scholars, as an example, has already created a PSA on the census with a number of others. And so, I could never forget to mention White Plains Youth Bureau, who we know Frank Williams does amazing work, but they've also done a number of PSAs to encourage social distancing, to encourage, filling out the census. And the list could go on. There's so many organizations. I'm sorry I'm not mentioning them all, but the one that I want to also highlight is the Family Services of Westchester's Youth Council, because always motivated and encouraged to, support social justice issues. Right now, the most recent young man being shot while jogging, actually discussing that and processing that and talking about ways in which they can help, maybe coordinating a run, a jog in his memory. So we have some young people that really understand the very complex nuances of life already, and they're not even out of high school.
Well, and that is exciting. Hey, on your website, DaMia, on the Youth Bureau's website, can people see some of those resources that you refer to?
They can look at some of those things, and it is a work in progress. We know that the team is very lean, that's able to actually put things up on our website, but we are sending information over and throughout our email distributions, our social media, um, and hopefully everything we talked about today will be there in short order. But the Poet Laureate is certainly there. The PSAs we've already sent requests for, so they should be up soon. And we're hoping to actually create our own that has a more diverse population to highlight some of the issues we discussed today.
That is awesome. So first, Dr. DaMia Harris-Madden, I want to make sure we remember the doctor part because you worked hard for it, right? And certainly to make sure that people recognize the outstanding work that you have done and with all those partnerships that you referred to. But for our last words, do you have any tips for the parents that are out there paying attention as well as they're working through and working and becoming teachers when they weren't necessarily a teacher before, and having a newfound respect for the teachers that we have out there, but also helping to deal with all of the challenges and uncertainties of the things that are happening, and trying to make sure there's social distancing and not social distancing, and what does that mean, and how could that impact even inside their families. Have some words for them, especially in our mental health awareness month, as we have young folks that are graduating, and some of them are going to be graduating not necessarily in the ways that they thought they would. Do you have some words for them to wrap up?
Sure. I'd like to just first say we're all human. And, even the super parents that are out there, both moms and dads are working diligently to strike that life balance. And, I've shared repeatedly my personal experiences just to show the human side because I can be very technical at times. But, when we have, multiple children and they're challenged to do our work and they're falling out of routine, and you feel as though you just don't have time, and the guilt that comes on based on just having to do your own work, while it's convenient to not have to suit up every day, people don't realize when you're working from home you're actually working double duty, longer hours, you're getting up earlier, you don't have to travel to work, so you're just jumping on. And often when you're jumping online, it's the same time that your Zoom classes are taking place for your kids. So I just want to remind parents, not to be so overwhelmed. And perhaps I should pull out a mirror and say this to myself. And, we're human and we're all doing the best that we can during this unprecedented time. But the mental health and self-care is critical. Making sure that we do get rest. Again, someone needs to hold the mirror up to me. Get enough rest and really take the time while you have it. We will be opening up soon and when it's safe and going back to work. So while we're home, I would just recommend that parents do take that coffee break to check in with their kids, sit down, talk with them, play a game or two. It's really important for them. They're excited to see us home. Sometimes, we hush them away because we're on Zoom call and we don't want them popping in. But they're just happy to see us, and so we should return that to them. But in terms of the technical resources, there are a number of organizations that specifically focus on parents, and Family Ties is one of them. Family Ties is an organization that we support our Invest in Kids programs, and they are also going to be doing a webinar for us on how to cope with the stressors at home and striking that life balance. Actually, that's coming out this month. So we are working on just finalizing the details on that. Additionally, my sister's place. There are so many resources throughout Westchester County, and we're working with the planning department actually on a map so that parents can actually see, well, it's a dashboard, as you're aware, but to those who don't know, the county has this tremendous GIS department and resource, and whenever we can use them, we do. So in addition to our directory, which is on our webpage, we are creating a page for the dashboard where parents can seek opportunities to help. But there are so many organizations, and they can contact us directly if they would like resources to help them cope through this situation.
Well, first again, Dr. DaMia Harris-Madden, thank you so much. The dynamic, exceptional executive director of the outstanding Youth Bureau for Westchester County. First, continued health and safety for you and your family as you're going through this time, and taking that time to make that people have a connection and understand we're all human beings out here, and everyone's facing these challenges in a different way, and to take some time and enjoy the time that you are having with your young people, with your children at home when you probably didn't expect them to be, but make with all those things together. But we understand as we start to unpause, and it's going to be gradual, that's going to be critically important for people, for our youth and for our parents, because our young folks think that they're superhuman and they don't have anything going on. And now we see that, unfortunately, the COVID folks, the COVID and coronavirus can impact them as well in significant ways. So again, thank you so much, Dr. DaMia Harris-Madden, and all the things that are happening here in Westchester County. Thank you all for watching us on Facebook Live this morning. You certainly could take a look and listen again for those things, but make sure you check us out at westchestergov.com. Certainly get down over to the Youth Bureau and look over there as well, to make sure that you see those resources that DaMia mentioned earlier today. So everyone continue to stay safe. As we unpause, let's do it safely and gradually, to make sure that we do not have to repeat this particular thing again, this whole pause thing. So everyone stay safe, and stay safe, Westchester, and thank you for watching.